When policymakers, journalists, or even defense enthusiasts discuss modern military hardware, the first number often cited is the unit acquisition cost. This fighter jet costs $120 million. That destroyer costs $2 billion, yet such figures are both deceptively simple and inherently misleading. Comparing platforms as disparate as a fighter jet, a main battle tank, a diesel-electric submarine, and an air defense destroyer may seem like comparing apples to oranges. But for defense ministries tasked with allocating finite resources, such comparisons are not merely academic. They are essential. Modern defense procurement is constrained not only by strategic priorities, but also by budgetary ceilings and political realities. NATO states, for instance, are expected to target 2% of GDP on defense spending, but few achieve this consistently. Within such constraints, each $1 billion spent on a destroyer is $1 billion not available for fighter squadrons, tanks, or advanced missile defense systems. To evaluate these trade-offs, one must distinguish between three cost categories. Flyaway cost, the bare minimum sticker price for a single unit, excluding research and development, R&D, training, spares, and logistics. Procurement package. Cost, the full acquisition package per unit, including training simulators, spare parts, weapons, and support contracts. Lifecycle cost, the total cost over a platform's 25-40-year service life, encompassing operations, maintenance, upgrades, and eventual disposal. This first section dissects the myth of the unit acquisition cost by comparing leading European-designed systems across domains, the Eurofighter Typhoon and Dassault Rafale in the air, the Leopard 2A7 Plus main battle tank on land, and naval platforms represented by a modern diesel-electric submarine, SSK, and a modern air defense destroyer, Type 45 and FREMM. Unit cost deep dive Eurofighter Typhoon. The Eurofighter Typhoon is arguably the most politically complex fighter program in the world. Developed jointly by the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain, its costs vary dramatically depending on tranche, customer, and package. Flyaway cost, tranche 3-4, typically estimated at $120 million per aircraft. Procurement package cost can reach $160 to $190 million per aircraft when including simulators, weapons, e.g., Meteor, BVRAM, Storm Shadow, Brimstone, spare engines, and ground support equipment. Partner nations benefit from cost sharing in R&D, but export customers pay higher due to the inclusion of support infrastructure. For instance, Kuwait's 28 aircraft deal in 2016 was valued at $9.1 billion, $325 million per jet package cost. By contrast, Saudi Arabia's earlier acquisition averaged $250 per jet, including weapons and training. The Typhoon exemplifies how flyaway cost understates true procurement costs. While headlines may claim a $110 million price tag, actual expenditures per operational aircraft often exceed $200 million. Dassault Rafale. The Dassault Rafale, France's Omnirole fighter, presents a different cost dynamic due to Dassault's vertically integrated production model and the French government's export policies. Flyaway cost, F3R, F4, estimated at $91.05 million. Procurement package cost. Export deals often range $200 to $250 million per aircraft once weapons, simulators, and training are included. For example, India's 2016 deal for 36 Rafales totaled $8.7 billion, 241 ancillaries per aircraft package cost, including Meteor missiles, Scalp cruise missiles, and advanced simulators. The UAE's 2021 purchase of 80 Rafales F4 was valued at $19 billion, implying $237 million per aircraft in full package terms. Compared to the Typhoon, the Rafale has lower flyaway costs but similar or slightly lower procurement package costs. The French strategy of export bundling ensures customers pay for high-end capabilities, not merely airframes. Leopard 2A7 Plus. The Leopard 2A7 Plus, Germany's latest iteration of its iconic main battle tank, is one of the most expensive tanks ever produced. New build unit cost approximately $13–15 million per tank. Upgrade cost, A4, A7 standard, around $7–9 million per tank. Krauss-Maffei-Wegmann, KMW, emphasizes modular upgrades, allowing nations like Hungary, 44 new builds ordered in 2018 for EUR.5 billion, to tailor capabilities. This equates to 17 MLs per tank, including training and support. Though far cheaper than aircraft, tanks involve bulk purchases, hundreds of units. Thus, aggregate costs can rival or exceed fighter fleet programs. Modern diesel-electric submarine, Type 212A, Scorpene. Submarines are among the most complex platforms to cost due to the inclusion of sensitive propulsion and combat systems. Type 212A, Germany, Italy, estimated 600 to 750 million per boat. Scorpene class, France, Spain. Export deals often range $500 to $700 million per boat, but licensed production, e.g. India's Kalvari class, can exceed 800 ms per boat due to local assembly and delays. Key cost drivers include air-independent propulsion, AIP fuel cell systems, advanced sonar suites, and combat management systems. Unlike tanks or fighters, submarines are typically procured in small batches, 2-6 boats, magnifying per-unit R&D overheads. Modern air warfare destroyer, Type 45 FREMM, destroyers are the apex predators of naval cost structures. Type 45 Daring class, UK. Roughly PEX 1 billion, 1.2 to 1.4 billion per ship. Cost drivers include the Samson radar, Aster 1530 missile systems, and integrated electric propulsion. FREMM class, France, Italy. Around 750 M, 950 ms per ship, depending on variant, general purpose versus air defense optimized. The UK originally intended to build 12 Type 45s, but scaled back to 6 due to prohibitive costs. Similarly, FREMM procurement has faced national budgetary pushback, illustrating the fiscal gravity of surface combatants. Interdomain cost comparison. To contextualize these figures, the following table compares approximate unit and procurement package costs. Platform flyaway unit cost, USD procurement package cost, USD Eurofighter Typhoon, Tranche 34100 DM 160 190 Dassault Rafale, F3R F4, 95 M $200, 240 M Leopard, 2A7 Plus, new build, 14 M to 16 17 M Type 212A Submarine 6 of 50 700 800 Type 45 Destroyer 1.2 B 1.4 to 1.6 FREMM. Destroyer 850 900 Moindlobe analogies for scale. Type 45 Destroyer 12 Eurofighter Typhoons or 85 Leopard 2A7 tanks. 1 Scorpene Submarine 5 Rafales with full weapon simulator packages. 1 Leopard 2A7 tank a single Meteor Bavram missile package for a Rafale squadron. These analogies underline the orders of magnitude differences in procurement cost between domains. For a medium-sized European nation, deciding between additional destroyers versus fighter squadrons is not simply about strategy, but also about relative affordability. Defense planners frequently warn against the sticker shock illusion, the tendency to focus narrowly on unit acquisition cost without adequately appreciating the immense downstream fiscal obligations that military systems incur. The purchase price, whether for a Eurofighter Typhoon, a Leopard 2A7 Plus, or a FREMM-class destroyer, is merely the entry ticket to decades of costs. Over a 30-year horizon, the standard analytical frame used by NATO and EU defense ministries, lifecycle cost, LCC, typically outweighs acquisition by a factor of 3 to 5. Lifecycle cost comprises procurement cost, the initial purchase price, spares, training, and infrastructure. Operations and maintenance, O&M, fuel, crew salaries, maintenance, and repairs. Midlife upgrades, MLU, modernization packages to extend relevance, avionics, fire control systems, radar upgrades, etc. Disposal, decommissioning, scrapping, or recycling of sensitive materials. In this section, we dissect how each platform performs not only as a tactical weapon, but as a fiscal entity, one that exerts recurring pressure on defense budgets across decades. A. Fighter jets, Eurofighter Typhoon and Dassault. Rafale operational economics fighter aircraft are among the most expensive military assets to operate on a per-hour basis. A modern 4.5 generation fighter like the Eurofighter Typhoon is estimated to cost $18,000, $20,000 per flight hour, while the Rafale averages slightly lower at $16,000, $18,000 per hour. These figures include fuel, maintenance man-hours, spare parts, and the amortized cost of depot-level overhauls. Both aircraft consume approximately 5,000–6,000 liters of jet fuel per hour. With jet fuel averaging 90 at 1110 per liter, fuel alone contributes 4,500–6,600 per flight hour. The Typhoon requires 911 maintenance man-hours per flight hour, while the Rafale, benefiting from Dassault's integrated production approach, requires closer to 79 man-hours. This differential translates into lower sustainment costs for Rafale operators. Engine overhaul and airframe life. The Typhoon's EJ200 engines demand complete overhaul every 1,200 and 1,500 flight hours, each overhaul costing $2.5 to $3 million. The Rafale's M88 engines are smaller and less costly, with overhaul intervals of 1,501 to 800 hours and a cost of $2 million per engine. Airframe fatigue limits are projected at 6,700 flight hours for both aircraft, necessitating either life extension programs or replacement around year 25-30. Weapons drive lifecycle cost into stratospheric ranges. Meteor FREMM, $2.5 to $3 million per missile. Storm Shadow Scalp EG cruise missile, $1.2 to $1.4 million each. Exocet AM-39 anti-ship missile, Rafale only, $1.5 to $2 million. A full combat loadout for a squadron-sized sortie can easily exceed $50 million in expendables. Pilot training costs average $5 to $7 million per pilot annually, when factoring live flight hours, simulator procurement, and instructor salaries. Full-motion simulators cost $25 to $35 million per unit, but significantly reduce per-hour training costs over 20–30 years. Both Typhoon and Rafale are undergoing F4, F5, Rafale, and Tranche 4-5 Typhoon upgrades. Typical upgrade programs run $30 to $50 million per aircraft over the life cycle. Total life cycle estimate. A single Eurofighter Typhoon or Rafale over 30 years costs $450 million, including acquisition, O&M, upgrades, and disposal. In fleet terms, a squadron of 24 aircraft equates to $10 to $11 billion. Leopard 2A7's operational economics. Main battle tanks are comparatively inexpensive to purchase but costly to sustain due to heavy fuel consumption and complex maintenance. The MTU MB-873 diesel engine consumes 350–400 liters of diesel per 100 km. Assuming an annual operational mileage of 2,000 km, fuel costs exceed $20,000 to $25,000 per tank annually. Leopard 2 maintenance averages $200 to $250 per kilometer, including spare parts, track replacement, and servicing of fire control and electronics. A single 120mm APFS DST round costs $8,000 to $10,000. Live fire training exercises with 20–30 rounds per tank annually already push costs beyond $200,000 annually per tank. Advanced Programmable HE rounds, DM11, are even pricier at $12,000 to $15,000 per round. Crew training involves simulators, live fire, and maneuver exercises. Annual per-crew training costs run $100,000 to $150,000. Midlife upgrades. Leopard 2A4 to 2A7 Plus upgrades cost $7 to $9 million per tank, while full modernization cycles every 15 years can add $3,000 to $5 million. Total life cycle estimate. Leopard 2A7 Plus has a life cycle cost of $25 to $30 million over 30 years. A battalion of 60 tanks represents a $1.5 to $1.8 billion fiscal commitment. Submarines, Type 212A and Scorpene class operational economics. Submarines are extraordinary fiscal commitments due to their stealth propulsion systems, refits, and specialized crew demands. Air-independent propulsion, AIP systems, such as Siemens fuel cells in the Type 212A, require costly periodic cell replacements every 7–10 years, priced at $100 to $150 million per cycle. Each submarine carries 30–40 highly specialized crew. Annual personnel costs exceed $5 to $6 million per boat. Crew training simulators cost $40 to $50 million per unit. SSKs undergo deep refit cycles every 7 to 8 years, costing $200 to $250 million each, during which hull integrity, sonar arrays, and combat systems are modernized. Torpedoes, DM2A4 or Black Shark, cost $3 to $4 million each. Anti-ship missiles like Exocet SM-39 cost $100.82 million each. Maintaining a full weapons complement easily exceeds $100 million. Total life cycle estimate. A modern European SSK has a life cycle cost of $3.54.5 billion over 30 years. Modern destroyer, Type 45 and FREMM operational economics. Destroyers represent the pinnacle of fiscal demand. A Type 45 carries 192 sailors. Annual crew costs, salaries, pensions, healthcare, food, exceed $20 million per ship. Integrated electric propulsion, IEP, consumes 2025 MW continuously, costing $7,100 million annually in fuel. Destroyers undergo major refits every 10 years, costing $500–700 million per cycle. Routine dry docking adds another $50–100 million every 5 years. Weapon sustainment Aster 30 missile reload, $2–3 million each. Harpoon Exocet ASMs, $1.52 million each. Naval gun rounds, 127 mm Volcano, $60,000–80,000 each. A single full reload of the VLS cells, 48-64 missiles, exceeds $150–200 million. Combat systems upgrades, combat management systems, CMS upgrades cost $300–400 million mid-life. Radar overhauls, e.g. Samson ESA, add $200 million. Total life cycle estimate. A modern destroyer, Type 45 or FREMM, costs $12–15 billion over 30 years, making it the most expensive platform in this analysis. The central question, which is the most expensive platform across its life cycle, has a clear answer in absolute terms: the modern air warfare destroyer. At $12–15 billion over 30 years, it dwarfs both the submarine, $3.5–4.5 billion, and any air or land system. However, the relative burden depends heavily on defense doctrine. For an air power-centric nation, e.g. France, a fleet of 100 Rafales over 30 years approaches $40–45 billion, equivalent to 3 modern destroyers. For a land-centric NATO member, e.g. Germany, maintaining 3 Leopard 2A7+ brigades, total 50 tanks, costs $7–8 billion, roughly equivalent to 2 submarines. For maritime powers, e.g. UK, Italy, destroyers are indispensable regardless of fiscal drag. Strategic trade-offs. Capability versus sustainability. Destroyers deliver unmatched multi-domain capability but demand fiscal sacrifice. Initial investment versus long-term burden. Tanks are cheap to buy but scale poorly in O&M when fielded en masse. Doctrine-driven economics. Air power remains the most flexible but costly investment. Submarines the most strategically decisive per dollar, and destroyers the most budget-devouring yet indispensable. Life cycle analysis confirms a sobering truth. Defense procurement is less about what a nation can buy today than what it can afford to sustain for 3 decades. The balance between prestige platforms, destroyers, submarines, and numerical mass, fighters, tanks, defines not just battlefield capability, but the fiscal sovereignty of European states. The myth of unit cost lies in oversimplification. While a fighter jet's $100 price tag is often cited in headlines, the true procurement cost per aircraft is closer to $200 all plus. Similarly, tanks appear cheap at $14, but fleets of $200 quickly exceed $3 billion. Submarines and destroyers, meanwhile, consume national-level investments with each unit. What emerges is a layered understanding. Naval platforms dominate absolute costs, aircraft dominate aggregate costs, and land platforms dominate bulk affordability.